for the introductions. It is an honor for me to be here today with all of you. I would like to thank particularly Keynote for giving me the opportunity to be a keynote speaker today on a topic that is very passionate to me. A topic that touches on the role of civil society and faith groups in advancing sustainable development goals, particularly SDGs 4, 5, 16, and 17. Today, we witness a world which is becoming increasingly fragile and complex. Climate change, violent conflict, rising inequality, demographic change, new technologies are only but few factors contributing to fragility. The 2018 OECD States of Fragility report estimates that the number of people living in fragile contexts will grow from 1.8 billion in 2018 to 2.3 billion in 2030. While poverty continues to fall everywhere else in the world, fragile states are projected to be home to 80% of those living in extreme poverty by 2030. As a result, the challenge of state fragility is now being viewed as both a global security threat and the principal obstacle to achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, particularly education, gender, as well as peace and justice. Factors like displacement due to conflict, climate change, and natural disasters are hampering access to education. Boys drop out of school early to find jobs to support their families. Girls are often pulled out of school, sometimes to be married off at an early age, often with partners that they have not chosen. Unfortunately, many of them are subject to physical, psychological, and emotional abuse. In many of the fragile contexts, social contracts are broken between people and their governments due to the inability to provide even the most basic services. The world state does seem gloomy. However, in the midst of that darkness, there is light and hope. The world has begun to understand that faith leaders, male and female, are in a position of power when it comes to influencing norms, practices, as well as human dignity at the very grassroots level in their communities, as their guidance and authority has great influence on the lives of children, youth, and other communities. The role of faith leaders in community development has existed since the dawn of time. We all know that it's not new. However, it had not been acknowledged by other non-faith or secular partners in the same way that it is today. Faith leaders and groups have long advocated for equal and equitable access to education in fragile or post-conflict countries. I'll just provide a few examples. For example, in post-Taliban Afghanistan, there are many efforts by imams to regularly promote girls' enrollment in public schools. In the Central African Republic, faith leaders, both Christian and Muslim, called on armed groups to stop using schools as bases for militia activities to allow safe access of boys and girls to schools in Bangui, the capital. Likewise, there are several worldwide initiatives by faith leaders to advocate for gender justice, despite continued dominance of patriarchy in many of our societies. They often use religious scripture to support their views and refute interpretations that can lead to harmful practices, like female genital mutilation, for example. In multi-faith contexts, there have been efforts to ensure that some of those matters are discussed openly through a dialogue between representatives of different groups, so the message intended to reach communities is clear. This has also helped faith leaders have a forum where they could discuss development issues and how to deal with them in their own communities. And last but not least, a number of organizations, and I'm going to name Kaisid here because of their obvious work, have invested time, money, and effort to foster peaceful societies through inclusive and sustainable dialogue platforms between religious groups of different faiths. These platforms place religious leaders at the heart of peace-building efforts. Through them, members promote and disseminate values, activities, and behaviors conducive to dialogue, nonviolence, and reconciliation. As a concluding word, I would like to say that when a society is fragile, marginalized, and broken, it is hard to imagine any sustainable intervention, whether humanitarian or development-related, without faith leaders or faith groups being at the core. We should thrive to partner, work together, and also believe that through our joint efforts, we could bring hope to those who need it most. Thank you.